Recently, I came across an interesting post on the PCOS Reddit forum, and I thought I'd bring it up with you guys because while I see so much praise in the PCOS community about inositol and berberine, I also see some skeptics out there. Does it really work? Are there actual scientific studies to back these supplements and their claims? And what if it's not working for me? Am I doing something wrong? Or what does that mean for my treatment? Let's dive straight into this question, and then I'll give you my thoughts as a registered dietitian and certified personal trainer who specializes in PCOS nutrition and fitness. All right, so the poster says, I don't think berberine or inositol are real treatments. I feel like this may be problematic to say, but I don't think inositol and berberine work. I think everyone who is on it and loses significant weight is probably just not insulin resistant or not insulin resistant enough to cause major problems. I've only been recommended it by people who were already thin before taking it. I took both supplements and neither one worked. I gained weight on them despite dieting, and I've never seen any concrete evidence that they actually work. I also don't think any supplement that you can get over the counter can reverse damage to your organs. Also, if it works so well, why don't we use it on pre-diabetics and diabetics? I feel like it's targeted towards our community because women are more susceptible to crunchy and granola crap and are used to being dismissed by doctors. It just seems like they're targeting vulnerable people to make more money. Maybe I just have a more severe case than most and it didn't work for me personally, but it's so annoying to have a random supplement shoved down my throat constantly by the community. Whew, this is a heavy one. I have to take a sip of coffee before I start. With ovasitol actually in it, but that's not intentional for this video. I just always have ovasitol in my coffee. So first of all, I just want to empathize that your experience is valid. I know that supplements, not just berberine and inositol, get shoved down our throats in general. You know, in the nutrition space, it's often very health elitism, at least in some communities, and you're told that you have to eat this perfect diet and you have to have $100 to $300 worth of supplements every month and green powders and things like that to be a healthy person. And that's just not the case. I am all for supplements, let's be clear. However, I don't think that you need $300 worth of supplements monthly to be a healthy person or to have better health with PCOS. In fact, with PCOS, while I do believe there's a lot of supplements that you probably do need to get further faster because of a lot of reasons. We'll get into that in a second. A lot of it is able to be improved through just diet and exercise and stress management alone. Supplements are kind of the cherry on top for most. For some, they can be essential. In particular, if you have vitamin and mineral deficiencies, yes, a diet can help alleviate some of those things. However, sometimes you do need supplementation, especially with vitamin D with PCOS, a very common nutrition deficiency, to make those numbers go back up in a manner that's going to, be most beneficial for your body and your energy and your hormones. All right, so let's break it down first. What is inositol and what is berberine? Because then I think we can determine why it may be essential for you or not essential for you in particular. Inositol is a type of sugar alcohol that's naturally found in foods, and it's also found in your body. It plays a big role in how our cells communicate, including how our insulin response works and how well our other hormones communicate with each other. So having an adequate amount of it helps our insulin function properly and thus is really important for someone who is insulin resistant with PCOS. We also know that it's called a pseudo vitamin because it often acts like a vitamin in the body, even though technically it's not because we make our own inositol in our body. Berberine is a plant compound that works kind of like a natural form of metformin. I know it's also been compared to Ozempic because it helps us lose weight, but ultimately what it does and why it works that way is because it helps improve insulin sensitivity and thus helps those who are insulin resistant lose weight because your body's not storing fat as much and it's improving that insulin response again. So both of them both do similar things, but in the studies, they work slightly differently, and we'll get into that a little bit more. So with inositol, it's most known for helping to regulate your menstrual cycle. It's also helpful for insulin sensitivity and to prevent blood sugar highs and lows. So it kind of steadies out your blood sugar. Those are what most of the studies see benefits from. With berberine, it's good for insulin sensitivity, so both same in that manner. It's also helpful for cholesterol and triglyceride levels and waist circumference. So there are a couple key differences. I mean, technically speaking, I guess if it both help with weight loss, you can see waist circumference go down in both, but these are just what some of the studies have found, the most recent studies at least, for these two things. I want to be clear though, these are not magic bullets, and supplements are not the same thing as prescription medications, so they're not going to work in the same exact manner that you would see Ozempic, for example. It's not going to be quick and snappy. It is a supplement, so it takes about 1 to 3 months to really see if a supplement is beneficial for you. I know that that means that you have to experiment and spend money when you're not sure if it's going to work, but you want to make sure that you're taking it consistently and for at least 1 to 3 months if you're saying, hey, this doesn't work for me. Because if you're only taking it for a few weeks and don't see changes, then of course you're not giving that supplement enough time to actually do its thing and help your blood sugar response or weight. And it's certainly not enough time to see your cholesterol or triglycerides go down either. So I gave you a little overview of what each supplement does. However, I want to talk about some of the studies because this poster said, I haven't seen any solid scientific research for this. I don't think that it's legitimate. I think that influencers are just trying to influence me and trick me. That's actually not true for especially these two supplements. Myo-inositol is one of the most highly studied supplements for PCOS. So that is the one that I recommend the most and first out of all PCOS supplements, besides I think vitamin D. Myo-inositol, vitamin D, and omega-3 fatty acids are the top 3 supplements that I recommend for PCOS. I think in that order too. Usually PCOS women are vitamin D deficient, and myo-inositol tends to be the best bang for your buck in terms of tackling the most PCOS symptoms with the least amount of side effects. Because again, it's a sugar alcohol that acts as a pseudo vitamin, so there's really not a whole lot of downsides to it. Some folks have, issues with stomach stuff, but we can talk about that in another video. One review of 26 clinical trials found that inositol, especially the combination of myo and D-chiroinositol, 40:1 ratio, which is very important, found that it significantly improved ovulation, insulin sensitivity, and lowered androgen levels in women with PCOS. So that is huge, and that means that it's not just one-off study, it's several clinical trials, and from what I have seen on the PCOS research, there's a lot of randomized control trials, which means it's a really strong scientific study in that it compares a control to the actual supplement, and the participants are randomly assigned those like either the control or the supplement. So they don't know what they're getting. And that means that the study is a little more accurate usually than just the other way around. Now for berberine, it says a review of 12 different studies published in the National Library of Medicine found evidence that berberine helps lead to lowered body weight, lowered body mass, and belly fat. And then also the other things like triglycerides and cholesterol, as I mentioned, those are probably found in fewer studies than the 12 based on this. Some of the studies out there, if you have trouble finding research for them, some of them are for PCOS specifically, and some are for insulin resistance. But since insulin resistance happens in PCOS a lot, then both technically count towards being promising studies for PCOS research. If you're feeling stuck on PCOS nutrition and supplements and just want a deeper dive in like guide form, because I know sometimes me spouting off this study information is not going to stick long term. It's hard for me to process things long term unless I have something in front of me. So I do have a PCOS supplement guide that breaks down the top 10 PCOS supplements that help and that have lots of research to back them. So I will leave that in the top of the description, and you can download that right after this video, or you can pause and download it now. But here's my other take on this question. Besides the research, besides that, you know, I've seen it work for a lot of women that I've worked with, and I've also seen it work for myself in a lot of different ways, in controlling my symptoms and getting my cycle back to being regular. I think here's the thing. So if you have tried inositol for several months, or berberine, and it is not doing anything for you, first I would, you know, say, is it helping my cycle regulate itself? Am I seeing changes in my skin and my acne or my hair loss? Am I seeing changes in my weight alongside exercise and nutrition? If you're checking all of those boxes and you're still saying, no, this is not working for me, my thought is that it might not be the missing piece of the puzzle for you. Who it works for the most is going to be someone who already has insulin resistant PCOS. And there is a small fraction of women with PCOS that don't really struggle with insulin resistance yet or at all. So maybe you have some vitamin deficiencies like iron or zinc or vitamin D or magnesium. Those are some common ones that you need to work on first, and those will help your energy and thus help your metabolism and thus help with weight loss. It could also be that maybe you are insulin resistant and you're taking the metformin and you're doing all the right things diet-wise, but your stress is exorbitantly high. You're still gonna have challenges with weight loss if you have really high stress levels. That really hinders a lot of PCOS progress and progress in general, I found, with weight loss and weight management. So make sure that you are assessing the big picture before you say, like, this is not working for me, or, you know, even if it hypothetically isn't working for you, I would take that as a sign of like, okay, let's reassess what exactly is going on in the big picture of things. Sleep is another really big one too, which counts to me as a stressor. If you're not getting an adequate sleep, you might be hindering your progress or just not seeing results as quickly, because sleep impacts hormones greatly as well. You can do all the right things and exercise and eat right, and if you're not sleeping enough, you're not going to feel well. I know that right now because I am a mom of 2 under 2, so I feel that to my soul. Luckily, my kiddos are starting to sleep through the night really well, so that's, you know, that's a different story now, but I'm still kind of like recovering, and you can probably tell that I just don't look totally well rested every single video, so I apologize. But that is just one thing to look at, and of course, you can only control sleep so much, but do as much as you can to improve that sleep hygiene, improve stress, and improve the controllables, and focus on those as habits versus beating yourself up for not having a perfect routine. So I hope this video helped, and let me know if you have any experiences with myo-inositol or berberine to share below. Maybe some success stories, or maybe some, you know, stories of it not working for you. That's totally fine to share too. I'm interested in hearing all the different stories below. If you want to shop Ovasitol or berberine, I do recommend Theralogics, and I do have a discount code if you want to shop my link and support the channel here. No pressure. You can always shop without it, but if you want to use it, it is DBNUT for dark blue nutrition, and I'll share that information below as well. If you want to dive deeper into supplements for PCOS, I would recommend my video on the top 5 supplements that I recommend for PCOS as a dietitian, and I will see you in that video. Click or tap the screen, and I'll see you there. Bye, guys.